Well, thanks for joining the GEM session here on version 15, release notes and covering off what's taking place. Another large group of bug fixes and enhancements. No big showstoppers, I don't think. And again, as we're rolling out 15, not aware of any major show-stopping bugs. There is one Mac user that's having some issues, but we haven't been able to narrow it down. So if you're having crashing issues on Mac, please join the GitHub issues tracker and let us know about it. As far as we can tell, it's only a single user, so perhaps something just with their configuration. So let's begin. Scott has got a couple of things here having to do with the Genius controller. I don't have a Genius controller to show you, but essentially it was the input side of things that was not being able to push the right number up for inputs. The workaround for that until that bug fix was in was to move the Genius controller up to the top so that it would be channel number 1. Ideally, when it's pushing a controller, it would know that it starts at, say, for example, 67396 or 48460. So that bug was addressed by Scott. Similarly, for uploading a single channel model type, that would probably be more like a DMX of some sort. So that should be fine. Alex has addressed an issue with the highlight color in a moving head effect. So moving head effect starts, I think I got something here. Yeah, if I go moving head effect, drop it into here. And my effect window is over here. Let's drop it over here. The all button was colored in such a way that you couldn't see it on a Windows machine, so that was fixed. There was a small issue that I highlighted in the previous release with xScheduler where there's some numbers that were showing incorrectly. Quick fix with the labels, so I'm not going to bother to pull up xScheduler to show that. It was pretty obvious, the bug in the previous release. Fix some aliases when creating from the mapping. So if you had import effects and you pulled in an effect here, or pull in a sequence, sorry, and if you dragged over something to a submodel, it was crashing. So if I had, let's see, what do I got here? I have something similar to a showstopper spinner. But anyway, these are submodels, and maybe you pull over something fireworks to fireworks, for example. If you did that and you said update aliases using mapping, it would crash on that entry. So that's been addressed. So it should be working better now. I'm not sure I know what this is. Fix upload a virtual display map in 2D preview. I do not know what that's about. I think it had something to do with issues on FPP version 8 and is virtual display. So do not know anything specific about that one. Fix loading some new XModel forms. Oh, we had a problem that was found when you tried to do an import model on the layout. So just simply saying import and creating a new one, it didn't handle the new XModel format and it would crash. So it was likely broken for everybody. Last version, that's been addressed. This was an interesting one that was found by Brian, and Keith fixed it, and it's probably gone on undetected for quite a while. If you had multiple, or even one timing track, but I'm going to create a couple of timing tracks here, and imagine you've got a whole bunch of lyric tracks, and then I put some stuff up here, and hopefully I can give you the idea of what I'm talking about. Let me close that. And if you had some effects that were down on these rows, if you were to highlight some entries here, if you were to highlight like this, you could inadvertently be deleting stuff on your sequence when you're trying to work with stuff on your timing tracks. So if, say, you're hitting up there and you hit delete, you may delete stuff that was actually hiding below. It's really obvious if I was to go, or more prone. So right now I'm at the top. You see how everything is at the top? Now, if I hide those or I scroll them up, they're actually hiding underneath these timing tracks. So you're going like this. I think this is how you do it. Actually, now it's been fixed, so I can't do it. But you can't. You used to be able to select way down here. I'm going to draw it. You used to be able to select a box way down here like this, and it would grab sequences or effects more correctly, and you might inadvertently delete them and you didn't think so. So the fix was to now allow you to, you're either going to have to select down below like this or select up above. You can't jump between the two. All right. Uploading proxies to FPP, so there must have been an issue there. I think it was just like a decimal place or something was off with the I think it was version 8. There was just a small bug there. This was an old bug that was having to do with the ripple effect. And again, since it's been fixed, I really can't show it to you. But if you had a ripple effect, and imagine it was 4 pixels that made up the very center of the ripple effect, because a ripple effect is often made up with 2 colors, you would actually get this one guy would be a single dot. It just looks stupid. You might as well not do the red dot until it is a bigger, ripple as it's getting bigger, so that when you get to that size, now you can actually draw, and ideally these are right over top of here. You actually got a meaningful white center, not just some single dot that looked weird. So that was addressed. Again, these are older bugs that have been lying around for a while. Copy and paste for ACFX. So not too many folks, I don't think, are still using ACFX, but if you said view AC toolbar and you had some ACFX, similar, you could copy and paste, and it was copying and pasting. If you copied from here, and I'm just going to draw some, these are not ACFX, but you get the idea. If you clicked on those, if you were to copy those, and I'm going to duplicate this without using ACFX, but if you're over here and you click paste, it would actually not paste here, it would paste it down here somewhere. So it was just off by a bunch of rows. It's a bug from many years, many months ago anyway. So it was only recently fixed on or corrected. Dan addressed the Mac issues on the feature that was introduced a couple releases ago with the XSQ. So the icons are working properly now. Another thing here was to make sure that because when you double click an XSQZ file or XSQZ file, it basically unzips the file into a temporary directory, and then it shows you the show folder, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't properly cleaning up that temp directory when you exited. So inadvertently, you could be filling up your disk space. Take a look in one of the other xLights gem sessions where I go through how to find that temp space and just periodically go in there and clean it up. It's not related to any of these tools options. It's a Windows function that you have to look at. This was brought up a while ago, and it has to do with the status line on the very bottom of your screen. Somebody noted that when you had your screen size would be 100, 150% or 200% zoom in because maybe you got a big monitor, the bottom lines were being cut off. So this, thanks to Dan, helped me out on that and found the code that we were able to make that bigger so it doesn't get cut off. This one here was a follow-up to the bug that was addressed last release, and unfortunately, my patch that went in last release had the consequences of messing up some buffers for larger props or virtual machines or virtual matrices and such. So we had to increase that size without, trying to without letting xLights crash for being too big, but that has been addressed so that you should get proper renders now if you were seeing any issues there. The state dialog, that's over here in layouts. So if you go to states, let's go here. I don't think I have any states here, but just bring up the screen anyway. If I go down to states, States, click here. There you go. Say add a new one. I'm not sure I like the new version here, so I'm gonna have to give the guys a maybe. I guess it's not too bad. It was allowing you to create state definitions that were incorrect. So I think 1, 2, 3, for example, is not a valid state until you give it a definition. So I'm going to test the theory out here and click OK. All right, so it's blocking you. You need to have something in there to define the state. So if I say it's on state 1, how about A, B? Ooh, what is my state? Maybe I have to do 1. Click OK. No. Oh, it's got to be lowercase maybe? A, B, C? No. Uppercase? No. Oh, maybe it can't be names? I thought it could be a name. Interesting. Anyway, it's doing some validations before it's going to allow you to click on the OK button. So 4, that should let me now click the OK. So that's doing some validation here. This doesn't look correct to me. This, and I'll point that out in a second. Scott says fixed state dialog buttons to be too squished. Well, I'm not sure they look too squished, but now they look really weird. So this might need another peek to see how this goes. Well, that's not too bad. It just looks well, like this didn't work out right, and it looks like they're too high. I don't know. Maybe? I don't know. Leave a comment down below if it works for you. It looks kind of funny to me, but we'll go with that. Inconsistent paste behavior with timing tracks selected. This was a consequence of the splitting of effects. Remember we showed this before, you could right click and split, and it's going to split where your mouse was clicked on. Well, that had the undesired side effect of it stopped the paste from working properly. So if you were trying to paste, it was going to go, it never went to the spot you would expect it to go because of what the code was done for the split. So Brian pointed it out, we found the bug and we've corrected that. So you get your expected behavior for pasting. Scott is working on this one. I think it's still a little bit of a work in progress. There was some issues with uploading DMX channels to PixelStick. It's still being checked with the end user that requested that. Tools check sequence, just a little bit of formatting changes here, hoping it helps some folks out. Basically putting in sections so you can see that there's a section here and you can tell what your errors are. So you have 0 networking issues, no preferences. But for many people, you want to go right down to, your layout is good. So you just ignore all this stuff that's like, okay, yeah, it's just a layout. I'm not worried about my layout. And then you can go down to the sequence and clearly see that there's no sequence errors. There's no sequence errors, but and then you've still got the total errors in here. Whereas before you'd come down and say, you see total errors 3,800, and you might miss some sequence errors that you really want to address. So just a minor change in formatting. And I think there's another here. I'm just going to jump ahead. Yeah, here. Scott added a change here that's also related. Add face definitions to the check sequence. So now that I have it open, let me just show you what that is. So it's not only does it tell you that there's a face image missing, but it tells you which face it is. So you can quickly go to your layout and correct these face definitions. Note that these face definitions are model errors, not sequence errors. So if your sequences don't use these faces, there's really no problem with it. But at least not with that sequence anyway. But you may have a sequence in your library, in your catalog of sequences, that does use those faces, and you're going to want to correct them at some point. So now it's a little easier to track down what the face is that you need to fix. So you would go into your models, layout, go to models. Oops, it was on the Tune 2 here. Don't know why I have face definitions on Tune 2, so that might be the bigger issue that I'd want to correct. And probably go to faces, and you're going to see they're all red, meaning they're missing. So it's saying Tune 2 is missing a bunch of images. Well, I know my Tune 2 shouldn't have images on them anyway, so I'm just going to delete them. I'm not going to fix these ones. I'm going to delete them. So I'm going to click OK, and that's that one. I got again. So on this one, TV right, I'm going to. This is my my testing show folder, so I'm not too concerned. But I would go to my faces, click here, and again, it shows red, meaning it's missing. So you would ideally go to your show folder, find it, and correct those images. All right, so that's the two changes that were done for this check sequence. And we'll go back to where we were. Interesting little thing that was added for some folks that want to add some silence to the start of a sequence or the end of the sequence. And the answer was always open it up in Audacity, load in your song, add the number of seconds you want at the beginning, save it, etc. Alex has gone ahead and created an addition to the screen that lets you do it right here. So if you want to add, say, 5 seconds to the beginning of your sequence, in the beginning of your audio track, of course, you would have to have an audio track. I would choose music and audio track. You could say add milliseconds here, and it would add 5 seconds to the beginning. Oh, it should be 5,000, right? Because it's milliseconds. To the beginning of your audio track. It's going to create a new audio track with a slightly altered name so you don't lose your original audio track, but now you have another one that you can have as a buffer in front. Some people like to do that, or especially at the end, if you want to add some a little bit to do an intro or an outro, sequence an intro and outro to your song, so that option's there now. You don't have to go to Audacity to make that happen. Little bit of cleanup here, show directory, making sure that these are usable, writable, and if they're not, warn the user before you crash or anything like that. Dan put out a video, thank you, Dan, on the skull model and the changes, so be sure to look out for his video on that with servos, and he's made some changes there, so go check out his video. Jason has added new versions for RGB to go, so that's going to be under the controllers. If you say added a new controller, and it's going to be under vendor, and I'm assuming there's RGB to go, and he's added some new options there. So there you go for that. Similarly, Pete has added support for the Baldrick board, so I'm assuming there is an option here for Baldrick board. If not, I think it's under, I don't know, sorry guys. Oh, there it is. It is under iLight that, and it's these various Baldrick boards. So those are there now. Alex has added animation for the model viewers. So it's a feature that's not in use yet, but it's available for those that want to make use of it. So when you say import, no, you want to say download a new model, it downloads all the stuff from the various vendors that support xLights. Thank you, vendors. And part of this is if you were to expand out and say, candy canes, whatever, this image here can now be an animated GIF image. So the vendors can add a little spice to their catalogs, maybe show a lit versus an unlit version of it, black versus white of the prop, etc. The possibilities are endless there. It's just creating animated GIFs for that. This one was a new one that Brian put together. And I know there's a couple of videos already out with this, so I'm not going to spend too much time. Just going to point out to where it is. Let me grab something that looks like a let me grab a line. I think yard line, verticals will work. So single strand and single strand here, and put it on the verticals. Click on this, drag it over. Just as a side note, for some people that have slower machines, this is a GIF background or a thing that helps you understand a little bit about what the effect is doing, especially so you can compare other effects. If you're finding your machine is really lagging, you might want to turn that off under File Preferences. So if you have a lot of effects on your grid layout here, your machine could be bogging down. So there's a quick thing to try under Preferences, and you can remove that. So back to this change, bring up the effects settings. Oh, let me pull that out again here. Hold on. There we go. Hold the Control key down. And let me move. Okay. So before it used to say just like 3D fade here, and that was all you had. Now, I'm going to make that bigger so you can see it, hopefully. Chase size. And so now it's got no 3D fade. So I think from head would be the default. So you can see it's faded white. I'm not sure why it's going the entire. I'm going to have to see if that's a bug. Hopefully not. It's supposed to go white to black. Now you have the option to go right to left. So it goes this way. And then you have lots of other ones bounce. Oops, not chase type, left to right. Sorry. From the left to right. Then you can, so from the tail, which is basically reversing it, and head to end tail, which is like a little bit of each. And the other one is just from the middle. So just from the middle. No, I'm not sure why it's doing the whole display like that. So let me try that on triple arches. Is that, no, that's, I'm gonna have to, that might be a bug, guys. So stay tuned on that one. Let me follow up on that. Warp effect, add a flip option. So let's remove that effect, grab the warp effect. That's not the warp, it's the wave. We want the warp effect. Let me put it on, let me go down and find something else to put it on here. Matrix. This was an old request. They must have had a reason for wanting it. So matrix here, insert a layer below. Remember that a warp effect needs something underneath of it so that it can warp it. And I'll just show you, we don't want to have any cycles just to get this. And let me move it over. All right, it's probably, there we go. Let me just move this down. And there's a new option that basically says, let me flip it. So it's taking whatever is in there and going to, oops, choose the colors here. It's going to flip it, reverse it. Now this could be done as well using the layer settings over here. You could say flip it horizontally, but as the requester had mentioned in the in GitHub, is you might have a whole bunch of layers here, and you just don't know exactly if you want to go down and flip every single effect, whereas now you can just put one at the very top and it will flip everything that's below it. And just to note that part of the flip is, where do you want it to flip? Do you want it to flip right from the top or right from the bottom? Oh, this is X to Y, so that's not going to matter. Do you want to flip it right from the top or right from the bottom, or some combination thereof? So chances are you want to do flip it right from the top. So let me just see if I can prove this. Let's go. We've got 3 blues, white, red, and green. So 3 blues, white, red, and green. If I bring this over top, 3 blues, white, red, and green. So now you got 3 blues, white, red, and green. So you can see it literally flipped the effect over. Okay, so that's that one. Galaxy effect, sort of a follow-up to the last version, last release. So let me drop the Galaxy effect, and Galaxy. It's alphabetical, but sometimes I don't know where the alphabet starts. So there we go, Galaxy effect, and hidden under options. Again, for all you sequencers out there, you might want to always use this, is to scale to the buffer, so you know exactly it's going to be. No matter what size of matrix you put it on or whatever, it'll always be the same. So your radius, width, etc. Now it's going to be a percentage of your buffer size, of your prop size. All right. So If you decide to use it on this prop, it'll give you essentially the same results if you were to do it on a whole house, or if you were to have a smaller matrix, it should give you roughly the same results. Scott implemented saving of a palette name. I haven't tried this. I believe if you were to modify a color there, notice the save icon comes up. So you've now created like a unique set of 8 colors. So therefore it lets you save it. I think when I click save, no, I thought it was going to prompt me for a name. I may have to do some research on this one. I thought it was going to prompt me for a name. Let me pull this out. I am using the right version. I don't see a name, so let me try it different. Let me go. So I just saved this one here. It's palette 1. Now let me choose this green. Click OK. Save icon is there. Click save. It doesn't prompt me. Why doesn't? I'm gonna have to research this one, folks. I thought he coded it so it would prompt me for our name. And if I go looking at this, you should see the second one is there, is now palette 2, but it never asked me for a name. All right, I will check into that one. We already covered this. This is having to do with the color palettes, so we'll check into that as well. Small enhancements to the controller page. Now you will see FPP Connect is now here. It's the same as doing Tools FPP Connect up in this option, but now it's just more convenient so that if you decide to upload to your outputs to your controller, you can just quickly come over here and do your FPP Connect, and hopefully you don't forget to do that since it's there. Add the ability to disable or change the way the alias behavior is. So now when you go to a layout and you grab a prop and you say Control-C, Control-V, paste it, it says, should I add the model to the table? Yeah, say yes. And I think, if I go here and I say, I want to call this one, bigger, whatever. It says, do you want to create an alias for the previous name? And it prompts you. I would say no. Now there's a preference under preferences. So if you know that you want to do one thing or the other, you can disable the preferences. Model name renaming alias behavior. Always prompt, which is the default, which is it'll always prompt you up there. Or you can just say always say no or yes. If you say always no, that's fine. And you can always come back here, and I think I can do it with a right click even, maybe not. No, you can come into aliases and you can just add it here yourself. So spinner star flake add, gotta click add first, of course, spinner star flake. So aliases, what they're for primarily is on the import. So when you do your mapping, you can hit the auto map, it'll map all my spinner star flakes to this guy because it's got an alias for that. So it's going to say, yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, so that's it. A quick rundown. I've got some homework here. I want to double check on the palette names, and I wanted to check on the fading out on the single strand effects to see if there's an issue there. So stay tuned on that. And again, thank you for watching the video. Be sure to tell all your friends and like and subscribe and all the rest of that stuff. Have a great day and see you in the Zoom room.